Good morning, everyone. This is my SIEG SX2.3. I've noticed that there isn't a review on YouTube yet. I thought I'd get one out there for anyone who's thinking of buying one or something similar, or maybe even getting the upgraded version. I believe that's the 2.7. It is already out of the box. I've already pulled it apart. I've already degreased it with that anti-corrosion gunk that they like to chuck on everything, which took me a while. And I'm just going to go through the things that I find along the way that are either good or bad, and then you guys can make a better decision if you plan on buying one or something similar. So, stepping back, don't mind the busted ass excuse for a bench that I had to make, and please don't mind that I don't actually have a good camera or a tripod, so I can't get you that unsteady video quality that you're all probably used to. But what it came with was obviously the bench mill, which actually came in quite a decent box, and it was fairly rigid in there, and I was fairly confident that it was going to be in good nick, which it was. Came with some Allen keys, boring. Came with all this here, two little T-slot nuts. I don't know how useful they're going to be without an actual vise, which I do have, but for someone who doesn't have a vise, not so useful. And came with the little drill chuck in there, the Morse Taper 3. I think anyone who goes R8 is silly for the whole rigidity type of thing. Little mills always need the rigidity, and that extra bit that you get from having a Morse taper, like a locking Morse taper, is the business. Plus it's easy to get all kinds of tools and things like that. What I did find out when I was trying to mount this to the stand that I made up real quick, made up the stand before I actually got the mill, so I didn't know where the actual holes were mounted. But you can see here there's plenty of room for me to stick in a fairly decent sized bolt. When I went to chuck the same size bolt in the other side, no clearance. I just painted it over just because it was exposed paint, so I just painted over it. But there was no clearance to get a nut in there of the same size, and the depth of this stand is quite large, and I didn't have the bolts, so I ended up having to drill and move it just slightly over so I could mount it there and one at the rear. And I'm going to cop some slack for that. Don't really care. So I'll come back and I'll get stuck into just checking over how the tramming is actually from the box. I understand it's not a tilting head or anything like that. It's a solid rigid head with just simple X, Y, and Z axis. But I just want to see how offset it is, and maybe even check the spindle, see how bad that is. Hopefully they're all good. But for anyone who doesn't actually know what the SX2.3 comes with compared to the old like SX2s or the 2Ps or 2LF, I believe is another one. So they're all very similar in the actual size of the table, as in it's a 12mm T-slot. Can't remember actually how long it is, probably say right there, 550 by 130. It comes with a 600 watt motor. I believe that's the high torque motor. I doubt there's much of a difference between a high torque and a low torque, don't quote me. She has got the tapping feature, which is not that useful if you actually care too much how your tapping actually comes out. I'm a bit of a fan of doing it by hand, making sure that I use the spindle to give it that center. It just gives me more feel and touch. I like that a lot better. I like the digital readout for my height as well as just speeds. For speeds to go up, it's simple. Positive to go up, negative to go down. That's the tapping feature. Once you hit that, there is you can't use the actual handle. You just go forward, hit it again, goes backwards, touch the button again, forward, touch it again, backwards, and so on and so forth. The thing I did find that was a little bit dodgy straight from the get-go when I had a little play with it is the fine feed feature. So you actually tighten this up all the way in, as tight as it can go, and now this will turn, which is quite rigid to be honest. and that's your fine feed. To unlock it, same thing, and now you can move this handle up and down. So yeah, I'm not too sure how rigid that will be if using the fine feed from using this handle. I have heard before that there's a problem with the SX2s in that when you use the actual large feed handle here and then you lock it off, all the way up in here, you lock her off, there's a chance that sometimes while you're feeding in left or right, then it has a tendency to jump, moving up just one of the notches on the feed screw inside the actual machine. I believe it's a rack and pinion, so potentially there might be just a little bit of backlash there. So there's a problem there, and the way that people have said to come over it is to come down on the feed handle, apply the fine feed, use this, go down, and then come back up. Unless you have a digital readout, you're going to have a very terrible day trying to adjust that and get it bang on to where you wanted it, just to try and take out that backlash. So I'll come back, I'll mount a vise, and we'll go through a little bit of a mill. I'll try and make something off the top of my head. Don't know what I'll make. Cool. I'm back and shaking again on my camera. I've just noticed this stupid excuse for a guard has a lockout switch. So you can't actually get this thing going until your little switch in here is fully locked. Annoying as buggery. Plus, you can't actually see too well through this. You can see it's already obscure. Imagine what that's going to be like after it takes a few hits from some chips. So it's going to be really annoying. The only, well, enjoyable thing about it is you can unlock these screws and bring that down. So now she's fully covered and you don't get eaten away by chips. Not such a big deal. I don't really care too much. I don't care about my floor. So I'm going to remove this stupid ass shield and wear my safeties like any good fitter and turner should. Here's that dumbass shroud removed. Should work a lot better. You can see here that the digital readout, the depth gauge, sorry, just works up and down just like any old other digital verniers, anything digital related like that. What I did find a little bit annoying is this lock here. So that is locked, not very tightly. I can go all the way down to the bottom here and it's still not proper tight, so I may have to adjust that. But to unlock, you go up, that's pretty much unlocked. This is for your Y, single handle Y with an Acme thread. If you put it all the way to unlock, the easiest way, then, sorry, my bad, that's your X, this is your Y, don't quote me, don't get angry. And then you come all the way out. Bear with the dodgy cameramanship. You know what, I'm not even going to bother. As you bring this bad boy out, you'll notice that handle will start biting right here and bend your good little locking handle right meow. So as you can see, I've already done it by accident. Luckily I picked it up before she went bang. But watch out for that. Highly annoying, and I may come up with a different idea for that one. And I'm back. Being that this is a belt drive, which I find is much safer for fly cutting or anything that's going to take intermittent cuts, especially fly cutting, with a geared type transmission, it tends to start chewing out the teeth after a while, and your backlash just gets increased and it gets louder and louder until you start breaking shit. So I thought I'd better check what the belt tension is like, which means removing that head right there. 4 Allen key bolts, and I'm there. It was a fairly rigid casting, which makes me wonder, is that meant to protect me from something? I don't know. Either way, it's actually not too bad. I am going to tighten it ever so slightly, but you don't want it too tight. I don't want to put too much pressure on there. That's obviously my 12mm bloody locking, whatever it's called. My TAFE teacher hated me for my terminology. If it wasn't a jigger, it was a thinger. So bear with me. You'll have to get used to my words of wisdom. Here is the cast. Quite rigid. Anywho, back to him. Alrighty, I just retensioned the belt. It's very simple. Those 4 Allen key bolts, undo them, just give her a slight push. I chose to go from here, keeping it central, pushing it that way, and then tighten the bolts back up. Obviously not too tight. I thought I'd leave the head off, that cover off, as dodgy as that sounds, and start it and just check to see how true it's running from the actual motor through the belt onto the spindle drive there. So I'll do that now. This is the first time I've actually turned this beast on. Yep, on. Sorry about the camera work. It's a good start. Go. Yeah, that washer's giving me the heebie-jeebies. That is actually spinning fairly true, other than the belt is moving up and down ever so slightly. I don't think that'll matter too much. Hopefully that's just something wrong with the belt itself, not one of these pulleys pushing it up and down. No, it just looks like the belt itself. Alright, that looks good. I'll chuck the cap back on before I start increasing the speed. But so far, so good. Back, the cap's back on. Don't mind my dodginess. I was just about to start checking how true that spindle was, just with, you know, a dial indicator or something. Just try and figure that out. And as I was cleaning up the table here, just making sure there was no oil or anything left on there, these cuts from the casting, or leftovers from the casting, are quite rough, and even some of them have burred up over on the edge, and I'm just going to stone those away to make sure that I've got a nice true bed there. It's not really acceptable, or I'm just a Nazi, either one. And I'm back. So you might be wondering why I've got a test indicator there instead of a dial indicator, because that cosine error is off the Richter. It's because my dial indicator is so busted that this is my only real accurate thing I got. At least the head's Michitoya instead of Milaloyo, which came with eBay. Good one, very cheeky, but yeah, that's an actual Michitoya head on it. These are great, these little stands. I love them. They can go everywhere but where you want them to. It's great, you know, never frustrating. I never get frustrated. Anywho, I'm going to chuck this on and we're going to see the dial and just see how much runout we got on the outside. I haven't got around to doing the actual inside. That could be different. Bear with me. Pretty close. I like things perfect, but that's just me. Alright, I'll do the inside now. I forgot to mention that this is Imperial, and that test indicator per increment is 0.0005 thou. Yes, it's Imperial, not metric. So that run out in my books was 0.00025 ish, which is about 0.006 something. Someone can do the maths, someone who cares, but I shouldn't be winching. That's actually pretty good. Sweet focus, not even kidding. The point is, there we go, the needle's on the inside. Yes, cosine error, I don't care. However, let's have a look at the results when I turn her on. I'm not expecting this to be too skew whiff, as this is the Morse Taper 3 bearing surface, so it should be highly ground to the spindle. Yes, that's pretty damn good, but there is a knock going on. Could be something, could be nothing. We'll see later. I figured it may be something wrong with my very old Mitutoyo test indicator head, so I changed it over to the eBay special, the Miller Loyo. I know, jokes and lols all around. And when turning her on, we get no knock. So as much as I enjoy my Mitutoyo stuff, that poor bugger is in a bit of disrepair. Alright, cool, at least we know that's all good. Just going through this digital height gauge, it works, especially with the fine feed, in one direction. So, up we go. You can get it fairly good, you know. No worries, I'm being real gentle here. Or I can go crazy. See how the handle ever so slightly moves when I turn. Perfect. Now turn it to the right, as in make it go down. Nothing, and that is tight as buggery. I can't show you because I don't have 3 hands. I have 2 feet though. Is that to make it go down, you actually have to apply ever so slight pressure to this handle and then twist it down. It works, but far out, that's annoying. All that means is that this head is heavy, and there isn't much in terms of balancing the weight of the head. So it actually wants to pull the opposite direction, which is annoying, but not much I can do about it. You can just lock everything off. People have done queer counterweight type scenarios where they've chucked a pulley here and weights going in, down, behind the back, and they lay weights down there to even the weight of the head up, which works. I don't have time for that. So I'll just have to account for that when I start doing some stuff. Yeah. What I have found a little concerning is just checking how tram this is. I understand that tramming the head is usually for adjustable heads where it's on an angle and you need to get it back to 0. That's tramming, as in 0 to the bed. I thought I'd just have a look at a non-adjustable bed and see if it was bang on. So we can all see, hopefully, that says around 24, 23 and a half-ish. Now, bear with me while I do some funky camera work and try and turn this sucker. This is our little unlock jib thing. Turn her around. She's obviously going to drop off. Yes, I probably should have supported that with my finger. Coming around, coming around. She is sitting on 4. Now that's 0.01 increments. Yep. So that's 0.04, and then down there it was 0.24, so I'm looking at a 0.2 difference between here and there, which I'm not sure 100% how I can possibly fix that. I'll look into it some more, but that's something to note, that there's a little bit of a difference between where I'm going. What I'm going to do now, chuck the dial indicator on MIA, and I'm going to run the bed back and forward and see if there's a difference. Maybe the entire thing is ground on an angle, maybe it's flat and it runs untrue. We shall see. I was a bit concerned about that 0.2 difference between my left hand edge and my right hand edge of the table here. So like I said I was going to do, I chucked the dial indicator, sorry, test indicator on my spindle and under the bed just to check how straight it's actually going to cut from the spindle to the table in that central axis, seeing as that's where it comes over the jibs anyway. And it's not too bad. So back here on the left hand edge we're looking at a 0.03 ish difference between here and all the way down here. Pretty happy with that. All that means is I think that there's a slight difference in the cut of those dovetails in underneath where the jibs are. They're getting a little bit tighter and actually pulling the table down just that little bit more than what it is up this edge. If anything, I'll just mount my vise a little more to the right maybe. Might help level him all out, but 0.03 is actually really good, so I'm happy with that. Alrighty guys, this is the last video for this SX2.3 wrap up on the pros and cons and just a general go over of whether you should buy it or not. I've got the vise, there you go, the vise mounted to the bed. Finally, she's all lined up. I was going to cut something for you, but I think you've seen enough milling videos by now to know that it can cut something, and I don't feel like cutting something for the sake of cutting something. What I've done there is I've just got the tape showing you how wide my vise is, which is only 6.5 centimeters or 65 for you guys out there that like to work in millimeters. She's not the biggest vise, but she'll definitely do for what I needed to do. But to go all the way in, if you can see here behind, I'm starting to bash into the dovetail protective cover there, but I'm well and truly away from the actual spindle head anyway. There she is there. I can drop it down even more for you guys. Plenty far away. I got plenty of clearance between that rear face and the front face. I'll wind her out now so you can see just how far I've got. That's the center line of my vise there. Still coming out, still got plenty of trouble. And that is well and truly past the forward face of my vise there. If I can keep going, I've still got that much trouble to go. Another 3-4 centimeters, so plenty. So definitely the bed is being underused, but you do a lot of your jobs on the vise anyway. So to wrap this thing up, tapping function, always good to have. It's pretty much a dead rip-off of the 2.7, just taken out a few things and made it a little bit smaller. This digital height gauge, I think getting a small mill like this one, where you're dealing with a lot of rigidity problems, you saw my problem that I'm having with the head being so heavy and the fine feed, I have to actually apply pressure to the handle to get it to work. So that digital readout, I would say, is a must, unless you start doing some queer things to try and balance out the head. Like I said, the pendulums over the back, some guys use gas struts, springs, all kinds of things, which I know work, but there's a lot of screwing around and more cost to do that. I'm just going to roll with that and my depth gauge. And I like the speed control, I like having that control. Just a point to notice when you're using the tapping function is that when that happens, think of the motor going into neutral and everything is controlled by the button, so you can't actually lower or raise the spindle while you're there. Just a point to note, so be careful and don't leave it in your tapping mode and go to drill something. That'll be funny. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it, and stay tuned. For me, I'm going to be making all kinds of things, not just random artistic things for shits and giggles. I'm going to actually making some things. I got some scribes planned, and I got a few jobs to fix with my car. I got all kinds of things coming, but I'll keep you guys posted. And if you liked it, hit the like. Let me know that I'm not doing this for no reason at all. And I did work out that if you turn your camera sideways, you get full picture. There you go. Idiot problem number 1. Catch ya.